Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we have racing tomorrow, and I've gone through it and I found my selections. Obviously you'll have heard about some of these already, or Premium and Pro members will have via the email, but there's a few others that I want to add to my selections as well. Starting off looking at the 110 at Wincanton, which I have forgotten to refresh the page. There we go. The 110 at Wincanton, which the horse I like here is Borbali. Interestingly, Borbali must absolutely hate running against Bad at Kempton. He's actually raced him 3 times at Kempton, and he's lost all 3 times. Bad's won the race. He hasn't finished second to him, but he's always been behind him. So if Bad and Borbali end up at Kempton again against each other, probably worth backing Bad. But anyway, why do I like his Borbali's chance here at Wincanton? So first of all, that was at Kempton over 2 mile 2, and he needs a bit further than Borbali does. He has been up to as far as 2 mile 5, and that's probably a better trip for him. 2.5 mile is spot on, and he's got some decent form over 2.5, including at Kempton, as I've just mentioned, behind the likes of Bad. Now, obviously, Bad was beating him before off a mark of 125. Bad recently beat him off a mark of 138, and is now rated 100 and... I'm just looking on my other screen. 145. So when he previously beat him over that 2.5 mile trip off 125, he's now £20 higher. Borbali finished third that day, and that came off a mark of 129 for Borbali. Borbali's only rated 126. So what I'm saying there is he keeps bumping into horses that are exceptionally well handicapped. Even his runs at like Chepstow last year behind St. Segal and Beau Balco, they had been highly rated horses that were probably coming back down to a level that they could win off, and Borbali just kept finding a few too good. Now, his most recent comeback behind Bad at Kempton over that 2 mile 2 trip was a very good effort. He went forward, he tried to make the running over a trip that was always going to be too short, and just got found for a bit of toe late on. The winner was Bad, who we've always been a fan of. The runner-up was Gabriel's Getaway. Now, Gabriel's Getaway then went to Ascot for the big handicap chase there and finished second behind Teddy Blue, not beaten that far. So I'm just kind of suggesting that I think that's probably good form, that third-placed effort. That was a Class 3 in name. I feel both of those horses are better than that, the two that he's running in against there. This is an official Class 3, and I feel that this is a Class 3. I feel these rivals are significantly, or at least a little bit weaker than what he has been taking on Borbali. This is where I think he's got to be... I feel like this is the chance for him to find a win. Hasn't won in a little while. How many runs is it? Hasn't won since winning at Kempton, beating Freya Darm off a mark of 127, which is now rated 126. He's come back down to a mark that's actually £1 lower than when he was last winning. But interestingly, despite that, that was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 runs ago. He's only just come back down to that 126 mark, demonstrating that he's generally pretty consistent. He went from 127 up to 131, 130, 129, 129, 128, 129, 128. He kept hovering around there. That couple of pound drop recently down to the 126 mark, I think that's when we've got to catch him now. And hopefully he can go really close off this workable mark for him. Second previously over hurdles to Krabilly off 125. Yeah, I think this 126 mark is the key to him. An easier race, and I'm hoping for a very big run here, and I think he should be the one to beat in this race. Let's have a look at what price we can currently get about Borbali. He is available at 7-2. I think he's the best horse in the race. I think he's... I'm not totally sure Lord Baddesley is going to run. He only ran 2 days ago. Wouldn't surprise me to see him come out. That's why they shorten him, so that they can get bigger Rule 4s. But yeah, Borbali, I think this is an easier race for him than what he's been running in. And off the back of a very good run behind the well-handicapped Bad and the well-handicapped Gabriel's Getaway, I think he should take all of the beating. We move on to the 145 at Wincanton, and this was a bit of a strange one for me. I didn't totally understand the need to run her here. Jubilee Alpha, for me, is a much better horse than what she's running in, this Mayor's Handicap hurdle, and also much better than these rivals. She was actually sent off 15-2 last year for the Grade 2 Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and she didn't run badly. She finished 8th. Travelled into it really nicely, just lost her way approaching the last and faded out of it, but that was a Grade 2. She then went to Cheltenham for a Mayor's listed race and was winning that. That kind of showed her level for me. I thought that was her level. She's a listed Grade 3, Grade 2 sort of horse. Probably isn't going to be good enough for the Grade 1s, but they'll definitely be targeting listed events with Jubilee Alpha. I thought it was a surprise that she therefore was going to start off in a handicap. They obviously feel that there's some work in her handicap mark of 137. Should she be higher rated than that? Possibly. Is she better than all of these rivals? Probably, in my opinion. She comes back to Wincanton, where she won her bumper. And yeah, the rest of her form is pretty good. Second in a Grade 2 bumper behind Diva Luna. Third on Mayor's Hurdle's debut, straight into a listed company. I mean, she's running listed company when she was the eye catcher there. She then won her next 2 races. She went for the Grade 2 Mayor's Novice and then won a listed race. She's better than this, isn't she? Very surprised at the price, to be honest. Currently available at 7-4. Now, this is the Paul and Richard Barber Memorial Mayor's Handicap Hurdle. Obviously, Paul and Richard both used to have horses with Paul Nicholls, and a lot of these races on the card are sponsored by Nicholls-related sponsors. I think Paul will be trying to win as many of these races as he can, and I think he's got the next couple in Blue King Daru and Rabau. Should both win, and I hope that this is the start of a quickfire treble for them. In actual fact, I hope it's the start of a quickfire 4-time. We'll come on to that in a minute. But Jubilee Alpha at 7-4, I think she takes all of the beating here. We'll move on to the 330. So I've skipped the 2 short prices in Blue King Daru and Rabau. I think both of those do win, but they're too short a price. So we go to the 330 at Wincanton. And you can see who I like here. I'm hoping this is the 4th winner for Paul Nicholls on the day. 3 under 3.5. Now, kind of reminds me a little bit of 3 Card Brag. Probably because it starts with 3 and it's owned by the McNeil family. Just looks to be running in an easier race than previous. This time last season, returned with a 3rd in the Silver Cup behind Victorino and the Changing Man. Now, Victorino we obviously knew was a really good horse. The Changing Man was rated 135 that day. He's now rated 143 and has recently finished 2nd in the Sodexo Live Gold Cup. Had form behind the likes of Caldwell Potter at Aintree. I mean, that 3rd place behind 300-5, that was a good performance. Then finished 2nd, beaten a nose on his return to Ascot in the Swinley Chase. Again, beaten by Victorino, who had all of the form and the Ascot form. Nothing wrong with that. Then was too far in the Grand National and probably too far in the Bet365 Gold Cup. Drops back in trip to a more suitable trip, 3 mile 1. And down in class, this is a much easier race than both of those. But, would you expect to see any of these really competing in a Bet365 Gold Cup or a Grand National? No. If 3 under 3.5 can't win this, I think they'll be very, very disappointed and not really know what to do with the horse, other than hope it gets dropped a few more pounds and then pops up somewhere really, really well handicapped. I think 3 under 3.5 should take all of the beating here, to be honest. It's not a strong race. Currently available at 7-2. I think he's the one to beat again. Just needs to jump round safely, and I think Harry Cobden should find that this horse is far too classy for his rivals here. We then go off to Aintree for the 12.55. Over 3 mile. Potemps qualifier. So are all of these even going to be trying? Interestingly, you get 4 places for the Potemps final. So the front 4 here all qualify for the Potemps final. There's only 7 in it. There's a couple here probably, in my opinion, not really being aimed at the Potemps final at all. The likes of Krabilly, Catate Dory. I don't think either of those are being aimed at the Pertemps final. Grabili is a 2.5 mile handicap chaser, and Catate Dory is probably going to try and go back for that race that they won at Kempton, the feature handicap in, I think it's February, isn't it? So that instantly reduces the field size in terms of who's actually going to be trying. We're already down to 5. I cannot get away from the Lord Maid. Having its first run for 210 days, she is. But I think the step up in trip really brought about massive improvement in her last season. So she'd started off running over 2 mile 5 at the beginning of the season in a mare's handicap hurdle, and she ran well. She finished second behind Georgie Girl over 2 mile 5. And then they actually dropped her in trip, and I don't think that worked. She dropped in trip, went to Doncaster, down to 2 mile 3, and disappointed. She finished last of 7, and looked outpaced in a race that turned into a bit of a flat race because there were so many hurdles omitted. They then stepped her back up in trip for a mare's handicap at Chepstow, 2 mile 7, ran a much better race. Finished second, was actually staying on all the way to the line. And then again, over the 3 mile trip, 3 miles 70 yards at Ayr for another mare's handicap hurdle, and she won this time, actually going clear and winning quite comfortably. It's the 3 mile trip that I think is the key here. The fact that they've now found out that she does want this 3 mile trip. I think there's now more in this Lord Maid. And I think she's going to be trying. Whereas some of the others, I think Chasing Fire, Ollie Murphy, Sean Bowen, they might be trying to get it to place again like they did with Long Draw. I could see Kintara not really being given a hard ride. Impose Trois. Why would they want to win this? It doesn't really make sense. Had some really good efforts last time in handicaps last season, including in the Coral Cup. Over 2.5, up to 148 from 141. Are you really going to be able to win this, go up to 150, 155, for example, and end up in the Pertemps final to win that? Probably not. This one, and that's another one that could just be running here for a fitness run. So, yeah, I think the Lord Maid is probably one of the only a couple, maybe, that are actually trying to win this race. And the fact that she's proven herself over this 2 mile trip, now that she's gone up 3 mile trip, now that she's gone up to this 3 mile trip, she's actually still quite lightly raced as well. She's only had the 8 runs, 6 over hurdles, 3 wins, 2 of them over this sort of trip. Yeah, I think she's going to take all of the beating here. She is currently available at $7-2. I think she's the one to beat. So, there's a few selections so far. Let's move on to the next one. We stick to Aintree. The 130, I've already talked about this one in our early analysis write-up. Hidden History. Let's just have a look at what price Hidden History is. Currently available at 100-30. I think he's the one to beat here. I think a lot of them are the one to beat, don't I? The Skeltons are doing this little thing that I do enjoy, I do look out for in horses. So, 2 runs ago, it was winning a handicap hurdle at Uttoxeter, beating Wellington Arch. Wellington Arch then went to Punchestown. Then went to Aintree and won a big handicap there, and then went to Punchestown and finished 3rd. Good form. Hidden History got beat last time out at Perth behind Rambo T. Rambo T has obviously come out and won the Silver Trophy this year off a £4 higher mark and is now rated £10 higher than when beating Hidden History. Hidden History was running off 122 that day. Hidden History gets to run here off 125 and is now over fences and is going up in trip and was the favourite last time out when beaten by Rambo T. Went off the 10-11 favourite. They clearly thought he would win the race off 122. They're now going on. Now we're going over fences. Now we're going to take on a better trip for us. I mean, they look to have ticked quite a few boxes here, in my opinion. They've gone up in trip. They're going over fences. They bumped into 2 nice horses last year. They actually beat one of them in Wellington Arch, and they bumped into Rambo T last time out. I think Hidden History is the one to be on here. Currently available at 100 to 30. We kept that one quite brief. Can't really see past Hidden History. 240. I like Gabborio. The two that I was looking at here really, I think, were Gabborio and Vintage Fizz, who finished second and third in this race last year. Both of them are down £3 this year from their defeat when behind King Tertian. Now, King Tertian was running off a mark of 125, has to run off a mark of 137, so he's up £12. Second and third are both down £3. So what's that? £15 swing. And interestingly, just straight away looking at the market, so there's a £15 swing, and yet King Tertian is down here still at 5s and 6s, and the two I've just mentioned are at 10s and 12s. But I've landed on Gabborio because I kind of feel that they've probably targeted this race this year with him. He was a little bit weak going into it last year, and yet still ran a really nice race for third. I don't think he was quite in the right position through most of the race, and that I just felt he gave him a bit too much to do. Vintage Fizz was a similar ride, but I felt Gabborio should have finished second if he hadn't made such a big effort coming around the outside as well. I just felt that on true ability, Gabborio was better than Vintage Fizz. Will appreciate going back over those fences again, and his subsequent form wasn't bad when he finished 6th in a race at Doncaster and then 3rd at Haydock in the last fling. Didn't stay the Ida Chase trip, back down in trip massively. This is the sort of trip for him. And they can just ride him maybe even a little bit more prominent, keep him involved, but don't go so wide, don't give away all that ground, and hopefully don't let something lead pretty much all of the way. I really like Gabborio here. I think he's going to run a nice race. Currently available at 10 to 1. I think that's a fair price about him. Let's hope for a clear round, get over those fences, which are so much easier now, aren't they? Even the Beecher's Brook. Even Beecher's Brook used to be, if you went down the inside, you could land and then tip over because of the way it was so steep on the inside. That doesn't seem to happen anymore. You can take the Beecher's Brook from wherever you like. In actual fact, being down the inside is good because you're saving ground. What used to be, I was always worried if I had a horse on the inside at Beecher's Brook. Nowhere near as worried now. And finally, the last horse I want to talk about is at Doncaster in the November Handicap, the last big flat race really of the season, and I am on Hopewell Rock here at 11-2. Hopewell Rock comes into this race as a 3-year-old, as a colt, still a colt, they haven't gelded him, and he looks very, very well handicapped. I think he's very, very interesting as well. Last time out at Leicester, he was beaten by Spinning Wheel, and you might look at that race and go, he's beaten by Spinning Wheel, why on earth can he then go and win a feature handicap, the November Handicap? Well, when he was beaten by Spinning Wheel, he and Spinning Wheel pulled miles clear of the rest. They pulled 5 and a bit lengths clear. And Spinning Wheel, to be fair to him, hadn't really done anything wrong. Won his first 2 races, did Spinning Wheel, then went for the Queen's Vase. I mean, they stuck him in a Group 2 off the back of 2 wins, Spinning Wheel. Okay, he didn't, he disappointed a bit. Then made his return in September, finishing a decent second to Surrey Bell, and then stepped forward massively for that. I think he bumped into one here, Spinning Wheel. He's bumped into a horse rated 101, or now rated 101. Hopewell Rock was running off 97. He's actually up to 102. But I don't think that's unfair on him. I just think the whole race, I think the whole performance was a very good performance. They pulled clear of the rest, as I said. The third has come out and won since, off a mark of 90, and went up to a mark of 100. So the fact that the front 2 were able to pull so far clear in what looked a good race, I think we might find that Hopewell Rock is still nicely handicapped of 102. One of the 3-year-olds in the race, probably the best 3-year-old in the race, still a colt as well. I think the connections know that he's better than handicap company, and could be running in group races next year, where they then might be able to get him to go to stud afterwards. They don't need to waste gelding him just yet. He's still running really good performances. So yeah, Hopewell Rock is my final selection in the last race of the day. And I would be disappointed if he doesn't go very, very close in the November Handicap. So they're my selections for the day. Fingers crossed we can have some nice winners. And let's hope for a great race in the Sefton, which is always a race I enjoy. I do love those races over the national fences.